Like that.
There's so many different things you can do with that one pedal right there, huh?
Which this one?
The red one.
Oh, the red one. This is just it's just in whammy mode. Something's going on off over here. Oh, you.
Is it?
It doesn't work. Let's say, all right, then, all right, fuck it, you can do this, and let's.
Yeah. Maybe he just wanted some attention. See, he wanted some attention.
Maybe it just needed a little bit of attention. You just play whatever. I'll follow you, man. Whatever you do.
Hi, I'm Kelly from AMS. We just had the pleasure of having Doug Wimbish and Frank Bello in the studio to interview each other. They talked about what it means to be a bassist, their influences, and their experience with Spector. These two are not only incredible bassists, but super fun people. Hope you enjoy.
I don't know if you, I want you to keep jamming all day.
We'll take it.
It's okay.
Did you get that?
Oh, you got some of it. All right, cool.
Just roll. Okay. Yes. I'm going to ask the first question. You guys ready?
We're good.
All right. This is going to be a lot of fun.
What you got?
Number one. Frankie, I have something to ask you.
What you got?
Frankie, in rock and metal, the guitars tend to take up so much sonic space. How have you managed to make yourself heard throughout your careers?
Great question. I get this question a lot. You probably do too for this. Because in the metal world and all that, you have, in my band personally, you have Scott Ian's heavy, thick guitar sound, as you know well. You've been on a million tours with us, shows with us. So we also have Charlie Benante's kick drum. And we have to somehow, as bass players, me specifically in Anthrax, there's got to be a cut through. You can't rely on low end. It's not going to happen because they'll drown you out. That's just the way it is. The low end coming from the bass drums and the guitar, it's going to drown you out. So you have to find the frequency. I remember working with Eddie Kramer on Among the Living, this album Among the Living. We had to find the right tone, literally experimenting with frequencies.
Right.
And the right frequencies, right frequencies to actually cut through that guitar and that drum that make it heard, but still be sonically right for the record, right? In the song, we actually did that. So it is a tone thing. It's just like that little sign right there.
Yeah.
It's all about the tone, man. It's a game of tones.
You know, you're right. As us bass players, we have to walk between those sonic raindrops. We have to find that space that's going to, in that tone, to be able to cut through the low end, the high end, everything else that's going on. Because we will get lost.
We will get lost. And we get pissed, too. Because if you're busting your ass learning or you have a pretty little bass line, right? And all of a sudden, that kick drum or that guitar is drowning you out, as we've all been, right? We've been there. What happens is, say, can you turn this up? And you can't turn the volume up. It doesn't make sense. That, you know, your mixer, your producer is going to say no. And it's like, well, was that line just then? You get pissed off because you busted your ass.
Frankie, sometimes I know exactly what you mean. I feel like we go into battle and everybody else has a Uzi and we got a Cub Scout knife.
That's so right.
And because you can't compete against a drummer that has all these mics and the guitar that's taking up so many frequencies and stuff. And we need to bring that weight. However, it would be nice it's nice when there's a good balance.
That's the key.
And the balance comes from whatever your monitors are or however you could manage the raging gorilla of sound, you know, and still feel like, okay, I'm gonna get through this gig and I'm not just feeling like I'm defeated.
Yeah.
The baseball season just started. We don't want to
no,
lose
you want to give
immediately.
It. Yeah, no, exactly. There's always that balance, that perfect balance. In the studio, it's easier. You notice that because you have a producer. You tell him what your wants and needs are, and he'll find the frequency. Now, what we do now, but live is a different animal. You can have your sound like with Living Color specifically. You have your sound. Everybody's heard because they have their own sound. But there are those gigs that are just those gigs, and you just can't hear it right.
You can't get it right.
And
man.
Will's kick drum is louder in your mix, or whatever the hell it is, whatever. And you're looking. It's not Will's fault, right? It's just one of those things.
But you know what I do, Frankie? Knowing that time is of the essence for these throw and go gigs, I really focus on the monitors and making sure that that doesn't get lost in the sauce, because everybody's dialed in for that moment to be able to get their own instruments together. So I'm like, Vernon's monitor, Corey's monitor, mine, Will, side fills, and try to be able to simply assign the right parts of Will's drums to be in certain places. So like for me, I don't want to fight against the kick drum in my monitor.
Totally.
So it's always you learn these techniques over time if you have the luxury of having
and time, because if you're opening, and this is another thing that players go through. Say you're opening for a bigger group, you have 2 minutes to get on stage, throw and go, right?
That's it.
You also have to have that monitor mix in your head, a throw and go monitor mix, because what's going to get me there? What's going to just get me to survival mode? Because that's what it is. It really is survival mode at that point, right?
100% right.
You have to get up there and say, how can I just get there so we'll have a gig? And the kick drum's not blowing me so I can't hear. Blow me. The kick drum's not blowing me out so it doesn't kill the gig. You don't want that to happen, ever.
Yep.
So it's like a throw and go mix, I call it.
Throw and go mix.
Throw and go mix. That's what happens.
All right.
Good one. Good
like
job
that.
on that one.
Yeah, man.
So I have a question for my friend Doug.
Yes, sir.
Doug, there are bassists and there are bass guitarists. Do you think they're one and the same, or do you feel there's a difference?
That's a great question.
It isn't. I wrote it. No, I'm just kidding. He wrote it.
It is a good question. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'll sum it up like this. It's really up to the individual to understand, the player to understand how to process that. What is a bass player is, it has a role. We have our role in the band. And it depends on the music that you're playing. So depending on, the combination of musicians, the more, musicians, horns or whatever, percussion, you have a role to play as a bassist. As a bass guitarist, then now you're starting to get closer to crossing in that line in the sand that's drawn. Now that can get into an area where it's like, hey, on a minute, you're a bass player. This is my territory over here. I'm the guitar player. You stay on that side of the line and don't even think about crossing that. You know what I mean? Or the keyboard player. So there's that kind of old school stigma that goes on with that bass guitarist, Then again, that's an old school way. But then again, right now, bass guitarist is pretty open. There's, what do you play? I play bass guitar, So it all depends on how you want to process what your role is. And do I see a bass guitarist as a person that's playing bass like a guitar? Do you want to put those two things together? Maybe so. Why not? It's not just 2025 right now. But I think it's all about it depends on how you come up, understanding the role, and how do you want to be labeled. I mean, I'm a bassist.
Yeah.
And however you want to, whatever you want to tag on after that, you can put that line goes around the block. You know what I mean? I don't really, so that's kind of cool. But so you can say I'm a solo bassist. I'm a drum and bass bassist. I'm a rock bassist. I'm a funk bassist. There's all these things that you can tag on to that word. But when you say bass guitar, I don't see it as being anything that's, in a sense, that's offensive in a sense. I think it's just part of where we are right now. There's a lot of bass guitarists out there. True. You're a bass guitarist and you're a bassist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's up to you how you want to process that. It doesn't matter being a bass guitarist. But I think it's good to one word is better than two sometimes. I'm a bassist.
Agreed.
Then I'll say sometimes I'm an ambiance director. I play bass and ambiance.
I like that.
So the ambiance is kind of like I try to add on something that is part of my personality. You know what I mean?
Because it is your personality. It really is. It's you.
It's deep, man, because with bassists in general, you have so many different characters now. You have your slap bassist, you have your tapping bassist, you have your upright bassist, you have your fretless bassist, you have your rock bassist, your super metal bassist. I can go on and on and on and on and on. However, at the end of the day, you're playing 4, 5, or 6 strings, and maybe if you're really dope, 1 string.
Right.
But the bottom line is it all comes down to what situation you're playing in and how you want to process it. Are you doing the job?
Right.
Are you understanding the frequencies of what's going on? Because look, man, we could change a melody with one note. We can go from major to minor, no problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you might get that look.
And you're going to get the look.
You're going to get that look.
So
we all know the look.
And then if you start to go into a certain upper register, things are going to drop down. So you have to understand how to use the peekaboo theory, how to kind of like hit it and quit it. Play something that might be over there, but then come back to something that people can still hum. Melody.
That's the idea.
And sonics. But I just say now that I'm a bassist that's still learning.
Me too. We're all students. I just feel like I'm a student. I'll never learn enough. I want to keep that hunger. I think it's important to keep the hunger because who are we to say anything about who's the best? I want to keep learning from you, whoever's in the room.
That's why I love
that's the truth. I have a plan. I'm going to go off the cuff for a second and not read those questions. I have a question B to that.
Okay.
If you don't mind. In that position where you've gone a little overstepping on somebody's toes within that structure. How did you deal with it? Did you back off? Did you give a little bit? I want to know, in that circumstance, what does Doug do in that circumstance?
Well, it's understanding how to entertain. Like if you're performing, there's that vibe. If you're in the studio, there's another vibe. Then you're also dealing with personalities.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're dealing with the personalities, right? Too. And nobody's perfect.
Nobody.
But once you start doing something that is taken up, where the eyes are all of a sudden on you, and it's not on some of the main focused folks that are like, hang on a minute, you should be watching me. You're a bass player. Stay in your lane. But the bottom line is it's like I watch what's happening. I watch the frequencies of what's going on.
Yeah.
I can see if somebody's starting to shift. And if it is, I still won't give in sometimes. Sometimes it's like, look, you can't allow somebody's personality to stop your path.
That's my question. Where's that line?
Where's that
line?
I'm still trying to find it.
Yeah. There you go.
It's undefined.
That's honest.
It's undefined. I know where, but trust me, I know where it is.
It's a feel.
I know where it is. However, sometimes you got to let them have it.
Because you're pushing it. You want to push it.
Sometimes it's not your ego. It's like, music is free. And if you understand how to get in and get out and back up, that's the key. How do you step off the gas? Hit it, step off the gas, because I don't need all the attention.
Exactly.
I'm like, it's not that deep to me, but some people do.
Yes. And we all know we're talking about it.
And if you get too deep, what you do could derail somebody's frequency for a while. The next thing you know, they're trying to sabotage you. They don't want you to do that again. Let's take that song out of the set.
Yeah. Oh, let's cut that part out.
So it's all personalities, but at the same time, over time, with the people that you work with, you come to understand what everybody can do and support that. I support the drummer that needs to do, that has something that's unique. Let them do it. Find the spot. Everybody needs a little light under the sun.
It's respect.
But at the same time, I'll do some stuff, and I'm like, okay, let me, I've done enough.
Right.
Back off.
But that's where the good stuff lives.
But I got to keep the pulse going, man. So my whole thing is, again, it's just hit it and quit it. Do something, play some. I've learned how to it's almost like jabs. It's like boxing. You play, you do something, throw something in there that's kind of like, where'd that come from? And before anybody's ears can process it, you're already out of it. So they're wondering, maybe they're looking at the guitar player and saying, oh, yes, what he did. No, I did it.
Right.
But I don't need the pat in the back.
Yeah.
So you learn how to mask some of the things you do in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Then that becomes fun because you're not letting your ego take over.
Right. It's almost like a puzzle. It's almost like a puzzle. Get that right piece right there, the exact fit, right? And what fits, what doesn't. And when to pull, it's about, like I was saying before, respect also. Everybody learns when you, like Living Color. When I watch you guys in the studio, which was really fun and special for me, you guys have your own little camps of respect for each other when you play. This room here, oh, you take this. Vern, I'm giving you a room right there. Will, it's your time now. Everybody has respect, even for singing. Corey, I mean, everybody has their spot. I learned that about you guys. It's fun to watch. You guys been together for so long. You all know automatically where that beautiful place is and when to accentuate and when to go for it, right? And pull back. All right, this is my spot. We'll do some amazing stuff and pull back. You'll let them do that stuff and hold something steady underneath, right? And Vern, woo! It's just it's almost like poetry. It really is. It's beautiful. It works. And that's where you want to get to, right?
Yeah.
So
that's years of experience, and that's years of being challenged and having some having things collapse sometimes based on the process.
Yeah.
But look, after a while, it's like, hey man, we're too long in the tooth to be playing child games. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're going to get the best out of everybody if you allow everybody to have that moment. So if I get in the room, my first thing is like, yo, Vernon, first day, what do you got going on, man? Let's get you pumped up. You're the Sonic.
Yeah. Yep.
You're the one that started this band. You know what I mean? I want to keep, my role is to keep everybody engaged. Yeah. Except for Corey.
Yeah.
No, I'm only kidding. Corey's so deep.
He is deep.
He's so talented. Awesome. He can do whatever he wants to do. But when you're in a band like Living Color in those years, you understand what everybody can do, and you can look and see, okay, maybe he's active. Okay, yesterday that person did that. Balance it up. You want to make sure people are engaged in the studio. You don't want to come in and feel like, okay, well now I'm going to have to do the same thing. No, yo, Corey, what you got? Right. And pull it out of the bag. Exactly. And don't be afraid to say, Vernon, what you got going on right now? And that way you can get through the day. And if everybody has a taste, then everybody goes away feeling good. Like, yo, I did something, I'm contributing. And it's not even, you're not even thinking about it, it's subconscious. And then you go and you think about the next day, you're ready to get back in the studio.
And you want to.
You're eager to get back in.
What's next?
What's next? So that's my approach.
And you have to fail. I think you have to flop on your face to learn to get there. Because we're all striving to get there. What you just talked about, where everybody's contributing and feeling good about leaving the studio that day, right? And say, all right, we all did it. You know what? We all did it. And that's what you want to walk away with. So the next day, let's do this again. I want to get that feeling again.
Yep.
You know, and that's what we want. It's like a drug. This is a drug.
That's what's key is like, how do you get that feeling in? How do you do a take? And then how do you beat that take? You know what I mean? How do you try to repeat yesterday? It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
You know what I mean? So just let today be what it is and deal with it. If something comes up, just deal with it. Don't get tangled up like, well, start to point the finger that, look, man, something happens. We're adults. Just deal with it, move on. That's why I'm glad you're there, Frankie, right about now.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Great. You've been in the studio with us, but yeah.
It's great.
Teamwork.
Yeah, it's teamwork. That's a great answer. Perfect.
All right, now what do we have here? We're only on one test. Okay, let's see what
I told you we can talk.
Okay, let's see what we can do to move this along. Okay, Frankie, you ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm ready for vodka.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. How do you approach songwriting within your band? And how does the bass fit into the creative process? Bingo.
That's a great question. Songwriting in Anthrax is, look, I'll be really honest, it's tough to get in there. And we have this thing that we do that works. Like every band after 40 years. I'm only 29. That's weird. That's 40 years. But wow. I kid. It was a struggle to come up, but we all have our things that we do, our roles, like we talked about, right? Charlie writes a lot of great riffs. Charlie Benanti, Scott was a great lyricist. I write a lot of melodies. Somehow that works. And that's how we come up with stuff, Anthrax songs, and thankfully people like it. But we know that works, even though sometimes you have some stuff that you want extra. But what I learned after a long time is I'll save this for another project. Yeah. You probably do this all the time, right, Doug? If I have something good that I want in Anthrax, maybe it doesn't fit exactly.
Right.
I'll save it for something else I'm working on, right? Another band, whatever it is. I'm writing songs, whatever, it doesn't matter. And that makes you fulfilled. But the Anthrax thing is that. It's that locked in. And it's great. And as far as bass playing, my thing is like, and you have the same ideology on this, bass lines should only help the song. It should never take over the song, right? So for me, it's like putting another flavor. You have this great song, riff, whatever. I want to add a little flavor in there with the bass line that will enhance that and make it build and help the melody of the vocalist somehow.
Right.
And say, I want people going back like I was, with Geezer Butler back in the day and Geddy Lee, all these great players, Steve Harris. And listen, that was a great bass line. I want to go back to that. Let me hear that, what he did. And the vocal came in like that. And it made me want to help the song.
Right.
It's all about helping.
Right.
Because at the bottom line is, we could have as much ego as we want. It's still all about the song. The rest of it's all. You can't have this ego coming in. I need to hear my bass and can play every note. It doesn't work. It's all about the song because nobody gives it. How is the song at the end of the day? That's what people care about.
Man, that's a wonderful answer.
Yeah. So
wonderful answer.
There we go. So that's it for that. So, and I've learned even writing my solo stuff and when I write for other people, it's the same thing. Write for me. You know, if it's, and you have bands, this will be good for them. This will be good for them. This will be good for them, you know, and see what works, you know.
What do you do? Here's a question for you. So what do you do when you have a song, something that you present to the band? You have a song, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in the process of writing.
Yeah.
Right. And so you know, you get this, you know, you can do a bunch of different things, but you're only going to choose how many whatever's going to be in the record.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you process when you bring something to the band and you record it, but it doesn't get used?
I cry.
And then you want to.
No,
but you understand what I'm saying? Because
totally.
how do you take the DAP back? You know what I mean? It's like, I gave you some DAP at first, but now I'm taking the DAP back from you.
Yeah.
You know, how do you process that where you can, okay, because sometimes in bands you put something down and it's kind of like on this kind of like,
This
it's like
is so
friendly
true.
possessed by
So
the
true.
band. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Like,
Now,
I totally get it.
How do you keep your mind in the game and to be able to say, okay, well, that's not going to be used, fellas. Or maybe not without even saying that. I'm going to pull that energy back so I can use it for something
could
else.
feel really jilted, right?
Oh, yeah.
Really jilted because you busted your ass in that song. You think it's, this is better than anything on the fucking record, all that other stuff. Because it's your ego talking, really, it is. It is. But you have to pull back, evaluate what do we have on the record. Does it fit the record? Does it fit the band? This is what I've learned. And I struggle with this, believe me, because I like my songs. Everybody likes their parts. What I do is, look, I make sure it sounds good. First off, sonically, it has to sound good. Like I used to just put riffs in. Now I put full passages of songs and drums, the whole thing, and make it sound like a song so they'll understand what's going on. And then I'll say, look, we could use pieces. We could use that chorus, this verse, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that's not accepted and that hurts. But I've learned over the years, it's like, all right, I'm just going to use this for something else. I will use this.
So you could still, you have a good agreement with the band where you're like, okay, if none of these pieces gets used, even though it's been recorded and it's on tape or Pro Tools, I'm going to take it back.
I'm going to take it back.
Yeah, fine.
But
that's good. That's a good thing.
I'll also feel really good if one of those parts
Gets used.
And this guy has this part for that, and this guy has part. And then if it's, okay, I'll dissect my song.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't matter. You Frankenstein it up.
Yep.
Right? Because it's for the good of the band.
It's for the good of the band.
song, right?
For the good of the band.
And that's where we are. And that, believe me, it's taken me a long time, and I still struggle with it, honestly, just being an honest guy.
That's
here.
a real question, y'all.
It's a real question.
Real-time question, because when you're in the moment, you're dealing with stuff.
It's emotional.
And you're in bands, it's emotional, and it's like you put your heart and soul in stuff, but sometimes you feel like that person's sabotaging my.
You could feel like that.
I'm being sabotaged.
And it gets very personal.
Look, it's like there's 12 biscuits and 13 kids, and one person wants 5 friggin' biscuits. You know what I mean? So this is what we deal with bands all the time. So I had to give you that kind of, that's real talk though, isn't it?
It's real talk and it's real honest, and I'll probably get in trouble for that one. But
no, you know what? But at the end of the day,
care.
it's like, look, you can we're having a real honest conversation.
Nah,
and we're dealing with, we're working with enough people where it's all real. Everybody's dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not, nobody gets a hall pass, you know what I mean? And when you're working with different bands over so many years, you understand what's going on. And that's just good information for all of those out there that are going to be challenged with the same thing. Park the ego, find a way how to come up with a system,
right?
Without, and there's a way to do it. You can't come in at the beginning and say, okay, I'm going to give you something, but if it doesn't work, I'm taking it back. It doesn't work like that. There's an art to communicating. And one thing is, if you don't know what to say nothing.
Good point.
And then just
I'm still learning that.
Be calm and find the right way to be able, let things go. Don't fester on things, but also don't create a diversion when things are going in the right direction. It's hard for one person to walk in a straight line, never mind 5 band members.
It's true. And that's so honest.
Deal with it.
Yeah. Learn how to, what I'm learning as we go, the word is pivot. Learn how to pivot. If you learn how to pivot like a basketball player, pivot the right way, and you're better off. The team wins with that.
That's right.
believe me, it's a learning process that I'm still learning, but it has to be. It has to be.
Well, y'all have been rocking it, man.
That's the idea. We're
All
still
right.
going. We're still going. Oh, my turn, right?
Your turn.
Woohoo! I love being this guy.
If you can't get enough of Frank and Doug, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be on the lookout for the behind the scenes video and the jam that we're posting with them soon. Now back to it.
You know, Doug,
Yes.
I want to know who are some of the most underappreciated bassists in your opinion?
Ooh, I'm a
That's
bass
a
player.
great question for you.
I'm a bass player's biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just cut through that mustard right now. I mean,
I want to hear this.
let me
list.
tell you this. First of all, okay. Why do we have why do we have to rate people in the first place?
Agreed.
Let's start
Agreed.
there.
Totally.
It's unnecessary. Everybody brings something to the table as a bass player, right? My heroes were local. It's probably folks you never heard of. You know, my biggest inspiration was a guy named Gary Williams that let me play his Fender Telecaster at his sister's party in 1967. He had just came out the Navy, right?
Wow.
And he's in the room and he's got Hendrix on, he's got this on, and he's like, "Hey, Doug, come here, man. Check this out. Here's how you play a scale. Here's a felt pick. Here's how you actually listen to this. What do you think about that? You like that? Okay, here's how it goes. So so my heroes started local, 100%. People that you may not have heard of. Gary Williams was one of my biggest inspirations. He's passed. He became a tech. He worked with me, and I'm thankful to have him. So let me be clear about that.
He worked with you as a tech?
Yeah, Gary was.
How great is
but
that?
he worked with D'Angelo, the Isley Brothers.
Wow.
Tony. He did a lot of R&B stuff, but he worked with. Matter of fact, I saw him when he was working with Whitney Houston one time. So he was,
real deal.
He is my hero.
Yeah.
So let me be crystal clear on that. Local, because that's how it started. Then you start to meet other people that you listen to on albums, and then you get a chance to meet them. So my inspiration was folks like this, James Jamerson first. All right, because I didn't even know what was going on. I just knew I loved what was happening, the movement of the instrument, of the bass. Yeah. Whether he was playing upright at first or when he first started playing the electric bass. Monk Montgomery, Wes Montgomery's brother, he's one of the first ones to play electric bass. So when I was coming up, I'm listening to all these different artists thanks to my brother Victor and my sister Diane. So I just started working up the ladder. Great bass players that I liked were the people that I was listening to at the time. Dave Brown from Santana, Robert Cool Bell from Kool and the Gang, all of the P-Funk bass players from Bootsy and everybody else, Larry Graham, listening to Rare Earth, Chicago, all these. I was just what I was listening to. So it was in my system. However, what really hits you is when you meet one of your heroes, right? And they're cool. Yeah. Right? So I met Bootsy, he was mad cool. Larry Graham, he was mad cool. But I met Jaco Pastorius. Wow. And I got a chance to hang out with Jaco.
I have to
and
dig in on
Jaco
this.
changed my life.
I want to hear this.
Okay, so now
go into some stuff.
And that he's probably it starts here. I met Jaco at the Bushnell Memorial in Hartford, Connecticut, back in like 1976 or 1977. I can't remember. It's the year Heavy Weather came out. Okay. The Weather Report album. Sure, of course. Right? So now he happened to be taking Paul Jackson's place with Herbie Hancock's quartet. Oh. Right? So I ended up going to the Bushnell Memorial because my band Wood Brass and Steel had played there the week before. We knew the security guards. And back in those days, you can go bum rush yo, so-and-so's coming to town. Let's go there while they're loading in. You know what I mean? Let's see the sound check. So we knew the guys, security guys, and let us go on stage. And I walk on stage, and who's the first person I saw was Jaco.
Wow, you could just go in like that?
Yo, dude, It was like from here to where the guys are right there. So I'm there, we just locked eyes, and and a friend had his first solo record. This is before a lot of people even knew who Jaco was. Had his first solo record, and I've been listening to that for about a year. So long story short, which I'm not good at. So we just lock eyes. I go over to Jaco, introduce myself. We say, hey, we just start chopping it up. go on for a while. He's got a glass of milk on top of his acoustic 360 bass head, right? And he's jamming. So next thing, I'm being polite. After about a half an hour to 45 minutes goes by, I'm like, trust me, man. I'm like 19 or 20 at that time.
God. Wow.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to meet you. I was going to get my seat. He said, no, man, you stay right here. Stay right here. He said, go right here. I saw the entire gig.
Wow.
From here to like 10 feet away. And I had my mother's opera glasses too, man. And all folded out and stuff.
Ready to go.
So here's the deal. He had been telling me that he had just came out the studio in Criteria Studios in Florida, and he had a Maxell cassette tape of the mixes of the Heavy Weather album. I kid you not.
Wow.
So I was like, man, it's gonna be, he said, yeah, man, I'm playing drums and stuff. So at this time it's verbal. I watched the show and dude, man, it's bananas because Jaco was looping at that time. He was doing he had like an MXR looper. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's at the top of the tree. So now the gig is over. 2 guys from the local radio station Jaco's chatting to, and they just happened to have the studio right next to the Bushnell Memorial. Jaco caught wind of that. He's like, hey, man, I got this Heavy Weather tape, man. Is it possible I can come to the studio and listen to the mixes? They said, yeah. I heard the entire Heavy Weather record from top to bottom.
Inside stuff right there.
5 days after he had just got finished mixing it, right? And he's in my ear. He's saying, hey, Doug, check this out. I'm playing drums on the first song. Check that out, man. Imagine me. I'm a little kid, and I'm hearing that, right?
It's the best.
So I'm like, just like, cool. So he took a shining to me. Then after that, he was like, you know what, Doug? John McLaughlin has been telling me about a place up here that is working with guitar synthesis. Electrocomp. You talking about Electrocomp synthesizers? Said, yeah. I just happen to know about that because a conga player I was in the band with knew those guys. They were in Vernon, Connecticut, and they were working with, these guys were like, they were doing, during the day, they're doing things for for the military. They're finding ways how to do sound with sonar so that if a submarine's going out and there's a bunch of dolphins, pot of dolphins, they could disperse it by putting some sound out, whatever, that kind of stuff. But they're musicians. They had taken Ovation bass, acoustic bass, and they strung each string. Each string had like some kind of pickup on it or whatever, and then they had that going through their system. I just so happened to know the guys. I'd been there before. Said, Jaco, I know the guys. So you know what? I could call them up tomorrow morning and see if we could take you out there.
Wow, what a
said, no problem. I called the guys up the next morning. Hey, I met you before. I have Jaco Pastorius that wants to come by the studio to check the stuff out. They're like, oh yeah, whatever. You really? Yeah, okay, yeah, bring him by. They didn't believe a word I was saying. Let me tell you something. So I picked Jaco up in my friggin' old yellow Ford Pinto with the muffler smoking everything everywhere you go. I'm like, so I pick him up, drive him to the to the place. You should have saw the look at these guys' face, man, when I rolled up the Jaco. Lord, man. Anyway, brought him there. He had a chance to play the bass, did his thing, and then I took him back to the studio, to his hotel. He had to go to Boston to do the next show. So to answer your question, nobody tops that.
No, I'm floored.
And
my
from
mouth
that
is on the floor with this.
Everything trickles down. But I've met so many different bass players that I love. There's so many great bass players that are here right now. Again, I'm a bass player's biggest fan. And all you guys that are out there doing stuff, keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because you got your fingerprints going on. Don't give up. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see on YouTube, no matter what's online, you have a voice, and it's only you can do it. Only you. So, that's my story. I was blessed to be able to be around some elders that put me in this situation. I'm not the architect, I'm the recipient. However, meeting Jaco Pastorius at that time, before the first Heavy Weather album came out, was one for the record books for me.
Where's your book?
It's in my brain.
Dude, get that book going. My God, yeah.
But anyway, I know I get long-winded, but yeah, bass
that was
players,
worth it.
It's like you got to start from, from the reality of your own experience. My local hero and the first person that I met that was like, yo, come here, man. I'm not going to blow you off. Because people will just blow you off, man. And I believe, look, the stars are in the sky and they fall down sometime too. This industry will create monsters.
Absolutely.
How many kids did you grow up with in high school? Didn't play sports, didn't have any girls. Next thing you know, 5 years later, they play guitar and they're in a metal band. They got all the stuff on. They're all painted. And it's like, have some of this. This revenge of of your friend.
Yes.
But be kind. be nice, and appreciate what everybody's doing. Support each other.
Yeah, that's a great answer to that question. I love
All right, there you go.
That was beautiful.
Edit all that down to
Yeah.
5 words or
Imagine
less.
that you get the last line. This beautiful story about Jaco. You use that last line.
All right, is it my turn? We're only on number like 2 or something like.
What are we up
Okay, Frankie.
Okay, what do you got?
Is this the right one I'm on? Are all of these number 1? That's number 7. Okay. Did I skip a page?
You can skip anyway.
No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Oh, I guess I did. Well, I gotta ask Frankie this one. He's not getting away with that one.
Oh man, I'm in trouble.
Okay.
Let me take a water.
Okay.
Let me take.
Here's one for you, Frankie. You ready?
I'm scared.
Okay. Would you rather play with a mediocre drummer and a great guitarist, or a mediocre guitarist and a great drummer?
The drummer. I have to have a good. Well, I grew up with Charlie Benanti. So and he better pay me for that line just now. We grew up in the same house, Charlie and I. His mother is my grandmother, rest her soul. Right? We grew up. She was very open to us jamming together and being musical, which is beautiful, as my mother was.
Man, that's a blessing.
So it's a blessing. It's
That's
a total blessing.
Frankie,
So if you
that's
guys
a
have
blessing,
that, if anybody,
man.
we were very lucky.
God
that
bless
way.
you, man.
Yeah, and God bless them, right? So I learned from the early days, Charlie started playing at 4. I'm not joking. Charlie started playing drums and was good at 4 years old.
Wow.
So I grew up watching him, and that's what made me want to play. It really made me want to play. I learned at an early age, it's all about locking in. It's all about having that solid foundation right there. And he always did that. Then he went into guitar, and we learned that whole aspect of it. And I played guitar, then bass, blah, blah, blah. But I really learned a lot from growing up with him, how important that foundation is. So for me, when people ask me, what's the most important? You could have a guy on guitar that's all over the place, because you know what? Guess who's going to be there? Him and I.
Yeah.
Right? And you know that as a great bass player, because you are. And the truth of the matter is, you're still going to have it locked in, because you do what you do. Right? And we'll be here when you're on that one. We'll be on the one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So catch us back when you're done.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It is kind of like that.
Yeah.
So it's always for me, I'll always say that it's about locking in with the drum and having that guy there. And sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes we talked about this before, right?
Talked about this before. Sometimes you don't have that, and then there's another side of that coin as well. And a lot of times for us, it doesn't. There's a time to that you have to perform.
Yeah.
All right, and you have a duty to perform. And then there's also a time when you can help.
Yeah.
Somebody. You can actually help the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that time isn't on stage.
No.
That time is off stage and off site. So a lot of times you can get into a situation where you can get in a group with a, you know how sometimes you're with a group and it's like a whole group decision could be made. Oh man, the drummer sucks, blah, 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 whatever. You know what I mean? Get him out of here. I'm like, hey, okay, yeah, well, give him a chance.
Yeah.
Give him a chance. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you could help somebody. Again, it's not to take place on stage or something like that.
Yeah.
But what I've learned and what I try to do with some folks, and it's like, how can I help somebody get better time? What can I do to help them, find out where the meter? Not worry about your chops and not worry about this and that. And then sometimes everybody's just personality is different. You could shatter somebody with a couple of words. I've seen people just not return ever from an instrument because they got served.
Right.
We've been on stages where we've been served.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You hit the wrong note. So what I've tried to do is I want to help somebody. I'll recognize some stuff. I'll get over dude, man, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Excuse my French. Diane, I'm gonna put another $1 in the jar. But sometimes, but at the same time, who am I to be that at that level? I try to help folks. And why? Because we all need help.
Exactly.
And some folks will just take the piss out of somebody. Yo, man, that dude couldn't hold the blah, 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 blah. Yo, he there's all kinds of jokes that can happen. But however, you never know what a conversation with a person can change a person's life after they've been it just hit the shank. And I've worked with some drummers that have been like, how did you sound? I was really bad. You were not that good. you could have been better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But but I don't want to. I'm not low. You suck, man.
But it's
No,
not forever either.
It's not.
It's not forever. You can just get better the next day.
You get better the next day. So I don't mind working. Some people, it's just the rhythm's not there. It's just not there. Yeah. It's just not there, man.
And what do you do?
It's just not, man.
You kind of have to make up for that, though.
Well, you kind of like see what they have a good person. Some people will rather have a person around that has a good personality and isn't that good because the vibe is right. So if you can convert that vibe into streamline, it's like learning a new language. Okay, you've been learning something this way. Let me put you on a click right now.
That works.
Let me put you on something that let's do. I'm like a tutor. You're in school. You're struggling. You stay after school and you get your things right. You know what I mean? So I have an organization called the Wimbish, which is based on, bringing people together, bringing the young kids, the new generation up, and also putting them in the room with some of my elders that just got off a Learjet and they're all, whatever. Put them in the same room with these young kids that are 13 and they're like, they got stars in their eyes and they're looking at you like you are the hero. Yeah. You know what I mean? And little did you know, that person was a friggin' the night before. You know what I'm saying? So how do you find a way how to compress and put people together and also have it so that a person can just take it, it's good. It's healing things. And every musician needs to be able to have an upgrade, an update, stay updated with what's going on. Don't get caught with the musical police officers. Don't think that just one style is the way to go. Try to find a way how to help somebody without getting caught up in their vortex. Because at the same time, you could be helping somebody, and it's like a swimmer. Somebody's drowning, they'll hold on to you and they'll take you down as well. You have to know how to recognize that. But when I meet a lot of drummers that have some ability, and I know that the water's running with no soap, it's like, yo, man, come on, let's pull aside. Yeah. Let's talk about what's happening before you even get on the instrument. Yeah. And I think that helps. Absolutely. It helps a person. It gives them a sense of, I know I suck, but at least somebody's is having a conversation with me and really cares. Yeah. Or even people, that's what we got to do nowadays.
Go early,
just try, but at the same time, when a drummer sucks, no. Oops. No, at the same time, I'm with you, man. I'd rather play with a drummer that can help me play better. And we can lock. Yeah. Simon Phillips. Wow. Simon is military. He's not. That time is going to be the same every time he counts it off. Period. Yeah. He's been playing with his from time he's a kid. There's some drummers that are excellent drummers, and there's some drummers that are excellent facilitators. They understand the whole job. They understand how to be on time, how to learn the songs, know the BPMs. Understand how to work with a click. Understand how to help, how to heal. We both have to heal sometimes. Understand when you have a hectic singer that's telling you to speed up and doing that, and you're sitting there still holding the fort down. So there's an art to working with drummers, but us as bass players, we get a joy out of working with a drummer that's good on stage and off stage. Yeah. It's great. That's good. That's fun. Then you win. Yo, man, drummers are a whole unique animal, man. And maybe that's the wrong word, but they're dialed in because a drummer can set up his kit any way he wants to. They have that freedom. We have this. Yeah, this is it. Drummers are like it's a trap kit. Yeah, you know what I mean. So how do you're working with a drummer that has all the facilities, good to be around. Listens, does the homework on time, and knows how to communicate, and not take up so much space. I mean, those are the guys who get the gigs. Those are the guys who get the gigs, man. I love working with Will Calhoun. Will Calhoun is great. Keith LeBlanc, who I work with. I work with some Dennis Chambers. We work together. I work with a lot of drummers, man, and each one of them, I've been able to learn from them. Yeah, of course. And it's not just the drumming. Yeah, it's not drumming. No, it's not just the drumming. It's a lot more than that. See, that's the whole thing. I even think even beforehand, say you're having a problem with the drummer, you can't get it right, whatever it is, go rehearsal early and just work it out. I like that. And make it simple. Make it simple and get in. This is, why don't we just flatten that thing out, make them feel, whatever it is, just to make it comfortable, right? Frankie, I've been in situations where I'm like, I'm on a tour, they're not going to change the drummer. It's not going to happen. let's make it work.
Yeah.
Best as we can.
Best as we
and then
can.
that way you can process it. Or what do? You're on the phone and this one, I don't like that and stuff. No, man, work with it best you can. Because I've been in all those other corners.
Right.
And it's not cool.
Yeah. Good answer.
All right. What am I?
I don't know where we are.
I think it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn? Ha ha. Let me get a good one.
Yeah, skip around.
Yeah. Oh, I have a good one.
Tell me. Hit me.
I have a good one. Douglas.
Yes. It's my mother.
And I'm interested in this because I don't know this. So I'm learning. I'm going to hear this and I'm going to learn from you right now.
We'll learn from each other.
We'll learn from each other. But you've worked with the same people I have. So in this genre. What was the collaborative process of you working with Spector to create your signature model? I'm interested in this because I don't know this. I know there's some pain there.
This might break the record of long answers.
Okay. I'll be back.
All right, I'll see you later. Go get okay. I got to start from the beginning. All right.
In the beginning.
Okay, because this we're here for Spector, so just give it. Okay, so
you guys have booze? Or?
How do you correct? The creative process, right? Kind of like okay. I first saw a Spector bass on 48th Street, right? And I was like, that's gorgeous. Then I first heard a Spector bass with Aaron Mills when I was playing with the Sugar Hill Gang and we were doing all these arenas when he was with Cameo and he came out of a freaking coffin with a Spector bass, right? I'm like, Jesus
awesome.
Christ, that thing sounds bloody good. Then to fast forward, I couldn't afford a Spector bass. Let me start. That should be the first thing. Okay. I could not. I still can't afford a Spector. But then again, I can't afford not to have a Spector bass.
Ooh, see how he did that?
You like that one? Huh?
New ad right there. I can't afford to spec this, but I can't afford.
Oh no, I definitely can't. So now, fast forward. Again, when you work with the heavy hitters, things happen. So here's a good one for you. So now, Spector is now with Kramer in Neptune, New Jersey, right? I'm working with Mick Jagger, Jeff Beck's there, Eddie Van Halen's hot. Now they come to try to sashay Jeff Beck, right? So SIR. They found where Jeff was. One of the techs set it up. Jeff was like, come with me, Dougie. I got these guys from Kramer here. So I was kind of like his backup. So I go in there. They got 10 guitars laid out, Kramer guitars, different colors and everything. Jeff comes in there and he looks at them, meets everybody, how you doing? Looks at the guitars. Oh, that's a nice color. Oh yeah, that's nice. Picks one of them up, hits a few notes. Hey, thanks guys. Thank you very much. He goes walking off into the studio. Then there's just silence. You know that silence, that kind of like, Jesus, what happened? So like there's that 5 seconds of silence, maybe even more. And then Pierre de Beaupart, he was like, well, Dougie's interested in Spector basses. That's how I got hooked up. So like, oh yeah, so then it shifted towards me. So then it's like, okay, cool. Well, we'd like to try to get you a bass, but we only have one loaner bass that they would loan out to different people.
Wow.
Right? So when the loaner bass comes back, we'll get it for you. But what worked out in my favor was I'm doing a record with Mick Jagger and Jeff Beck. So it's funny how things change in 48 hours. Next thing you know, about 3 days later, there's that black Spector bass that showed up at the studio. Now
I want that bass in there.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So now I'm recording with the bass. And okay, and originally it was like use it and then you have to give it back. Okay, cool. But then they let me keep the bass for the whole period because I'm in the studio with Mick. And so, okay, so there's that out the way. Then fast forward, before I met Stuart, and then he's like, hey, well, you know what? We'll make a bass for you. I said, okay, cool. So this is where the fun began because now I'm in, they had a whole system in Neptune, New Jersey. They would come pick you up in a limo and drive you down and the whole sachet and everything like that. So now we're having a mobile conversation on the phone. So I knew how the kind of neck profile that I wanted personally. So Stuart is ever so kind, ever so nice. Is it possible if you can shave the neck down a little bit for me? I would like a neck profile similar to like a jazz bass, just to put a finger on it. Okay, I'll give it a go. So I'll never forget this. So when you're getting the bass made, usually it's just like one piece. It's like the whole neck through right here. So I'm in the limousine and I go to the office And I get there, and I'm actually listening to the mixes of Mixed Primitive Cool album. It was real rock and roll stuff.
Oh,
that.
really?
Back in the limo,
Limousine,
yeah,
listen to
limousine,
the mix.
the whole
You got it all
sachet.
going.
Those days are gone. So Stewart comes out and he's got just the neck. What do you think about this, Dougie? How is that? I don't think he changed anything. I don't think he wanted to change anything.
Right.
I think it was just, this is just going to be the first bluff,
Yeah.
right? Stewart would probably laugh when he sees this
See if he
anyway.
catches it.
But he maybe shaved a little bit down, whatever. But it wasn't significant.
Not
So
what
I
you
looked
wanted.
at it. I'm being ever so kind because I'm like, I don't want this friggin' Stewart Spector. I
You're
don't
on
want
eggshells and
I don't
stuff.
want to,
Yeah.
and I love Stewart. That's my mate. So I was like, oh, Stewart, man, he showed it to me, and I'm like, hey, man, it looks great. It's a little bit it's got a little bit too much girth on it right about now. It's a little hefty right here.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I can shave it down anymore. I don't know if it's gonna take it. I said, man, would you be ever so kind to do it? So he comes back again. He shaved a little bit down. It wasn't much, Frankie, to be honest. I'm like,
Right.
Jesus, how do I tell this big bearded guy how to shave
So he's giving you
those
a
things down?
little taste here.
Because
and
I
there.
love Stewart. He's so spot on. He's like, oh, okay. I said, Stewart, can you shave it down a little bit more? And then he did, and I was like, thank you. And that's the neck profile that I got.
Was that it though?
No.
Or were you being nice?
No, I was being real.
Okay.
Because you only have one bite at the apple at
Yes,
that time.
yes.
I'm not going to go there and I'm not going to be driven from Hartford, Connecticut to Neptune, New Jersey in a limousine listening to some stuff and go there and come back defeated.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not
Yeah,
being
yeah.
real, but at the same time, you want to be respectful.
Exactly. Where's
You
the
wanna
balance there?
and at the same time, everybody has their thing. But so I went there and it was a great experience because that started a connection. He shaved that neck down. He didn't know how it was going to turn out. He didn't know because everybody has their build methods, right?
course, yeah.
I don't know. I played the bassist, but he shaved it down, and I was like, when I got it, it was like,
open. Yeah,
like
yeah.
the clouds open. It was like heaven, right?
Yeah.
And it was like love. It was just like I proposed to the bass as soon as I got it. Just kind of like that was it. We were married for life,
Yeah,
and I still have the bass. So that was that's phase one. Phase two. So now fast forward. Now I'm a very loyal person.
Obviously.
Some
are.
people are like, you're loyal to a default. No, man, just keep it real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not one of these guys I'm not a revolving door kind of guy. So Spector hit the shank. They had some challenges with Kramer. They went back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But there were some other brands that were in the middle of that, but I'm not going to get too deep into it because I pissed all of those brands off because I always use my Spector bass. All right? So I'm not even going to get into that. Y'all know who you are. Anyway, but it's the truth, right? So now Stewart does the deal. First he had Korg to distribute it. And then when Stewart actually did the deal to sell the brand to Korg, I was the first person he called. He's in the car.
That was my question.
Dougie,
Okay.
I just did the deal. So anyway, we're tight like that. So now that started. Now I'm into the process of dealing with with John Stipple, right, and Taylor, and the whole crew over there. So, and that was great because one thing that I was concerned about is a lot of times when you have these brands and they get taken over by somebody, it could be the kiss of death.
Totally.
It
Absolutely.
could be the kiss of death.
That's what I would have been afraid of.
But however, what was in favor of Spector and Korg was they had the opportunity to distribute the brand for 5 years before. So it wasn't like a whole new cast of characters came through.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. So then I got a chance to meet the crew, and I just met Taylor McLean. Am I saying your name right? Huh? Macklin. Taylor Macklin and John Stipple. They won me over. I'm gonna be honest with you because they were just always cool. Then I met Joe Castronovo, the owner, and he's just mad cool. So I started to meet everybody, and I understood that they're dialed in. They really want to make this work, right? So thanks to John, because there's sometimes sometimes you have to get used to a situation.
Right.
But John was so cool and worked with me because man, I've been in this game a long time, and I got almost every friggin' year. I got 20 Spector basses. I do have a lot of Spector basses, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know where the fault lines lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know where things kind of went sideways too.
Right.
And so I could go to Spector and say, here's a 1987 Spector bass, 4 of them. Show me what the difference is right now with the 1989 Spector bass. Let's look at the SSD bass. Let's look at the errors. What do you see? And one thing that was consistent was the inconsistency of what took place with the builds of the instruments. So I said, the first thing we need to do, and for me, is let me give my input into the brand so that I can help usher in some clarity, some changes, because I'm in the field. I'm out here working with different folk.
Front line.
And it's not just metal or rock or, it's a lot of different things. And I know what a player likes. I have an idea. And they've played my Spector 4 and they played my Spector 5s. And so it became a situation. It wasn't a me thing, it's a we thing.
Yeah.
And I had to learn the process of what takes place with brands and also what they're up against. You had COVID, you had supply chain, you have wood, you have the cost of having of stuff being freighted over. It's gone up from $5,000 to $12,000. You have folks that retired that were builders or different companies that make components. They don't exist anymore. So long story short, we created a situation where everybody listened to each other. And it's hard for one person to walk in a straight line, never mind 12 or a company. But you know what? They were determined to get it right. Thanks to Taylor, thanks to John, thanks to Will, thanks to the whole crew. And everybody stayed in their lane. I love the fact that Joe was like, hey, Doug, man, that's not my thing, man. I believe in these guys. I'm going to let them do what they got to do. Yeah. I've been with some brands where it's like, it's the wrong person that's speaking at that time that should be quiet.
Yeah.
And you have a person that's calling themselves a bass builder, but they play guitar.
Right.
It's a big difference, mate. You know what I'm saying? So you have to find a way how to go, okay, let me sift my way through this and also be honest with stuff. But you know what? It took time and we tried many different things and the guys were like, we have to make you your bass. And I had a model out that was done from before, but Stewart was never that kind of machine that was dialed in to put a lot of different things out. You know what I mean? He did his thing. But Korg now has been able to listen, and I've been able to listen and learn. And there's things I needed to learn about what's going on with the
other
brand.
Side. Right.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, man. Because that's how you learn. So I learned, and I realized these are the guys. I'm glad I'm playing a Spector. They were calm, and they put they put time into me and the people that I'm around. And I'll never forget that. And so now here we are years later. And I waited when there were times when there were other folks that were getting signature series. I'm like, I'm going to wait. I'm not in a rush. Not the right time. Let everything get right. Because COVID did a lot.
It did.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to rush stuff. I'd rather get it right. But you know what? It's always a work in progress when you're having fun.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But now look at me, man. I got like 4 USA models that we came out with. Amazing. I got swamped with like two true champagne basses, like 6 basses all at the same time, and I bought them all out on the road. Now I have 3 Euro models that are out.
Amazing.
That are coming out. And there's more to come. So who am I complaining?
Of course.
Life is beautiful right
exactly.
now.
And you know what? I'll further this because you were the one that I called you one day talking about bass. And I just asked you straight out. I said, what are your thoughts, Spector? How are you feeling about Spector? And this isn't a commercial for Spector at all. I just want to let you know my background with Spector. Talked to my friend Doug here on a conversation one day. I said, I asked you, so what are your thoughts? I'm thinking about talking to them. You know the right people. You said to me, as a matter of fact, I have a photo shoot tomorrow with everybody there. I said, no way. It was all meant to be this way. It was really strange. Right. It was really strange. You went there at your photo shoot doing this thing. You put me on FaceTime.
Of course.
FaceTime call. I didn't expect it. I thought this was going to be some kind of, all right, we'll email and we'll do. No, FaceTime with John Stipple.
And I gave John the phone and I went in the other room.
And we talked forever. And it just clicked. I said, what I'm looking for. He told me what he's looking for and what they're looking for. And then it was like a snowball. Dude, it was like a snowball, all meant to be. I trusted them first because the people that actually worked because of you. Because I knew if you put them through the ringer, and you do, and I know that you do that, I know I can trust them. The loyalty factor, these guys, when you meet them, then when you get to know them, there's a hunger there. There's a hunger to achieve. They want to keep that brand. That's important for me and you. You want to keep that
100%.
brand
100%.
going. I want to pay respect to Spector. Respect the Spector. I did that twice. Respect to Spector. I want to pay respect to this brand that deserves it, and do what's right for it, and be loyal.
Yeah, man.
And be loyal.
Yeah.
And that's all. Right now, for me, it's a family. Look at you and I doing this thing today, dude. Right?
That's my brother.
They would ask me, "Is it cool if you guys do that? Because I don't want to take time away." It's Doug. Of course, we're gonna do this together. This is obvious. We could talk a lot, yes, but but this is the whole thing. People, if another player, if you were here in the camera, right? If you were here as a player, you could be talking with us right now.
That's right.
That's what we want to bring.
We're
this. I thought it'd be
approachable.
cool. I thought it'd be a cool, approachable aspect to this whole thing.
You know, Frankie, that's real. You know, whoever's going to watch this, everybody's different. Sometimes people give like 10-word answers and stuff like this. We have a lot of information. We have a lot of years of knowledge and things that have taken place.
We're lucky.
For both of us, you know what I mean? And it's in the noggin, and it's important to be able to just have somebody to chop it up with. And we're able to, and thankfully, we're here at AMS to chop it up with y'all. You know what I mean? Because y'all are the next generation out, or y'all are the ones that or all of our buddies that are out there right now, y'all know what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? You've experienced the maggot in the mind of the universe.
Yeah.
And all these crazy things that goes on. But you know what? The good thing about this is our friendship.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're working with a brand that we can call our friends.
Absolutely. And we're
Look at Taylor over there. He's chilling out. He's all
chilling.
in the corner. He's got the Mets shirt on and everything like
Taylor's
that.
all hanging.
Keeping it Mob Deep. Looks like a Mets. It is. Okay. But
you're right though. The whole thing is we've had these experiences in our life, and if we're able to pass those on, pass the torch.
Yeah,
and
man.
Say, maybe inspire you one day about something, one line that you or I said that could inspire them to play better or feel better about playing. That's it. We win. Everybody wins, right?
Everybody wins.
So that's the whole point of doing this. We're lucky enough to
you
do this.
can do it.
Yes, and you can.
And Ryan can do it.
Ryan, you could do this, Ryan.
No, but on the real tip, what Frankie and I are saying are like, it's like it's to boil it all down. Spector is not a good brand; it's an excellent brand. And Spector is the kind of brand that hasn't just worn itself out. You know what I mean? It's on the rise. It's like the second or third coming of a brand, and that's deep. Some I'm not gonna rate different brands, blah 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 blah. But however, while we're on the subject,
go for it.
You know what I mean? They're doing some things that the public will get to see. They're working they're building the brand to elevate, and it's not just staying at one plateau, right? So, and that's the key. The key is if they listen to enough different artists they're in it. They're not like jaded. They're not like, oh well, I'm only gonna stay with. We're gonna only work with these kind of players because they got a name or that kind. No, man, you know what I mean?
It ain't that.
Look, the stars are in the sky and they fall down sometime too, man. They're open-minded and they're doing something. And we're here. We are the ambassadors to Spector. Okay, so if we end up getting locked up somewhere, you need to come and bail us out. You know what I mean? Because we're gonna be going around the world. It's a funny climate right now, but hopefully our superpowers will come through the instrument.
That's what we do. Yeah, it's exactly it. Well said, Rick. See, you're good. I don't have to say much after that. It's all good. Bottom line is, this is a great brand. We're happy to be here. Period.
Whatever you want to do is what I'm gonna do.
I want to see you solo. I want to use these noises because I'm so turned on by them.
I'm gonna do a Keith Richards. Keith Richards is excellent. So, no. Can you do this? Blah, blah, blah. No. No, I'll do whatever you want me to do, Frankie.
Let me get a little loud for you.
All right. Oh. Yeah, keep playing that. Good night, Hammersmith. We love you. AMS in the area. Peace and love.
Good time.
All right.
I'm gonna throw my underwear up there.
That was fun.
We want to give a huge thank you to both Frank and Doug for being here with us, and to Spector for making it possible. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be on the lookout for our jam. If you want even more content, be on the lookout for the behind-the-scenes video over on our website. And as always, to get all the gear we use in this video for yourself, head on over to AmericanMusical.com.